Tom McLean. I'm sorry, he is not longer with us. Jeff Sweeney,
Here.
Wayne Simons.
Here.
Jay Graham. Alan Gill.
Here.
Linda Yaki here. Kenan Threet.
Here.
Lynn Kaziski. Larry Hasty. Have So move. Second.
Motion for approval of the agenda. So moved. Okay, we're gonna open up a period for public comment. You will state your name, your address, and what you're speaking about, and you have 3 minutes to speak. At the end of those 3 minutes, you will be stopped.
We have two, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Adam.
My name is Adam Vanderkeen. I live at 135 Broom Stage Circle in Unionville. Pleasure to speak to you today. Speak on the topic of AI data centers. Okay. So I'm Adam Vanderkin here. I'm 135 Broom Sage Circle in Unionville is where I live. I'm speaking today on AI data centers. I speak as someone of an expert in the field. So I've been in IT for almost 20 years. I work for the state. I'm a senior IT manager with the state. I've worked for 2 Fortune 50 companies, and I've worked on very large projects of over 20,000 computers. So I know very much about AI, and of course, it hasn't been around that long, but we have had quite the sharp increase of interest and the rise of data centers within the state of Tennessee. We've had a lot of discussion upon this. This is something I'm strongly opposed to. Not myself only, but the fact of the matter is that the data very much represents the very much problem which we can face. For us, our very limited infrastructure here does not need something like that. I know that that is not something that anyone is proposing at this time, but it's something that we need to prepare for because there are many problems out there. We can see that already within Nashville, out in Memphis, Chattanooga, and even in Knoxville. They've had these problems. Out in Knoxville, one of the problems that they had faced was that there was a lack of transparency as to what was being put in. A AI data center was not what came up on the docket. It was some other LLC that had come up that they had allowed to build, and then the building was not what they ended up building. They ended up building something very large. These centers consume very large amounts of water and also power and everything of that nature. To give you an example, the one in Knoxville the largest one is 73 megawatts. That is enough power to power 15,000 homes. The AI data centers for Microsoft that trained the ChatGPT-3 consumed 1.4 million gallons of water to do that. That is astonishing. They didn't just consume it, or put it back into the system, it evaporated that water. That water is gone. They're not able to use that anymore. That is terrible. Lack of transparency also for the one which is proposed for next to the Nashville Zoo, as you guys probably heard about. It was only said to be one building, and actually in turn is now 4. It was supposed to be a 69,000 square foot building. It's over 200,000 square foot. So that is definitely a problem which we see. So these LLCs are being put in under these different names and have been causing a lot of different problems. So it's something we definitely do not need in Bedford County. There needs to be not just a moratorium, we need to be stopping this at its feet. So whatever we can do to put in place these pauses for the extended amount of time, something that I would definitely recommend, not only so more data can be available to y'all or to other board members or county commissioners, but that we can put in place things that are already being put in place by other county and city mayors. So that is something that we desperately need. Thank you. I'm Adam Vanderkin again, running for Bedford County Mayor.
Yes. My name is Jennifer Vanderkin at the same address, 135 Broomsage Circle in Unionville. I would like to elaborate on the same topic. I'm heavily opposed to the concept or the bringing forth of an AI data center in the county. My father has elaborated on the use of electricity and the use of water. I will elaborate even more on the personal consequences of each and every citizen in this county. The thing with electricity costs being driven up is one thing. When a large amount of electricity is used in one area, generally an electricity company will raise the prices of electricity for everyone else in the area to make up for it. And these people owning these data centers could pay for that, but they won't, because it would be much easier to have the thousands of other people in the area pay for it. It will pollute the water, because as it is evaporated, it's not just blown off into the atmosphere to be used by some other state and perhaps putting us into a drought. It will pollute the water with heavy metals. Now, people proposing AI data centers will promise many things. They will promise that it will boost the economy, that it will bring jobs into the area, that it will do many, many things. The problem is that AI is far from profitable. In fact, AI companies are losing money and have been for over a year and a half. There are very, very few jobs that can come through AI. There will be a temporary amount of construction jobs for building it, but then it will just be a hunk of concrete and metal that will be sitting on acres and acres of land and bleeding the citizens of this county dry. I heavily oppose it, and as someone in college, I have seen the effects of AI on school and such. I have seen Reddit forums for recovering from AI addiction. I do not think that we should support this in the slightest, and I offer my heavy research into this
30
topic.
seconds.
Thank you. I am about done, and it's nice to offer my opinions on this matter.
That'll close the portion of public comments. New business. We have a discussion item number 1. We were requested Ginger Schaffner to be here for that. She was unable to attend. We would like to move that to next month's meeting. I need someone to make a motion on that, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Chairman, just for clarity, we're moving all of 5A.
Mr. Chairman, if I will, I can answer that. Yes, essentially, the first item on the agenda was the discussion of the bylaws. Every year, we're required to go over our bylaws and have discussions about the various things that I might bring up, things you guys might bring up that over the year you discover maybe need to be amended. And we had Ginger lined up to be here tonight, and she texted me like literally 5 minutes before the meeting and said she was unable to come tonight. So some of the items are they were all just discussion items anyway. And if you wanted to proceed with some of them, that's fine, but some of them were more of the technical nature that really we needed an attorney to talk to us about. So it's just up to y'all.
So we're moving to 5B, right?
I'm holding for you.
Discussion items, amendments to the subdivision regulations. We'll start with driveway permits.
Okay, the first item is driveway permits. So the Board of Commissioners, the last meeting voted to adopt the road superintendent's proposal to begin issuing driveway permits. We are currently drafting standards, actually Mark Clanton's standards that he provided us, with a bit more specificity to include in our subdivision regulations. For now, we can use what was adopted, but I do think it should be formalized in their subdivision regulations in the appropriate location with a lot more specificity. Because basically what we have is you know, pretty basic as far as that goes, and there was nothing that pointed out where, like, for instance, where we would specify the section and the article and that kind of stuff. We really need to dig in the weeds a little bit, but I wanted to spend the bulk of the time tonight on these, on the big ticket item that we've got before us tonight at the end. So I'm just wanted to inform you that that's something we'll be working on for the next meeting, and I got several things lined up that I can talk to you about as we move through that's going to be on the next month's agenda.
So Chris, on each one of these, do you want us to give you the go-ahead with it? I mean, how do you want us to?
Well, we have to have Mark write it up so we know what to go ahead
but
with.
we don't, if we don't have anything to add to it, then you're gonna go on and fix it then to the regulations, subregs.
This one's for sure because the county, the Board of Commissioners have already passed this. So they've already indicated that this is something that they want to do, and honestly, Mark's kind of put in a predicament, you know, with the law change and whatnot that he was dealing with, and he can no longer put in culvert pipes and stuff for free like he used to do. So we're gonna have to issue permits in order for people to remit the amount of money that it costs to do that. So, but we're doing it through our office because we already have the software in place and that kind of stuff, and that way Mark don't have to buy $100,000 worth of software just to issue a driveway permit.
Okay. Are we gonna follow number 2 the same way? If we are, I would like to add Mark Thomas to that conversation for fire trucks and make sure what we're approving meets their standard also.
Okay, you want me to read it so that
Yeah.
people in the audience can hear?
How would that read? Fire department.
So if you don't mind, I'll read this, and then that way, the things that we talk about up here, the people in the audience will kind of get some context for it. So minimum roadway widths for major subdivisions. We're looking for some direction for the proposal of amending our subdivision regulations to include a minimum functional standard of design for rural roadways when a major subdivision is proposed. For those in the audience, a major subdivision is a subdivision with more than 5 lots. We'd like to include 2 separate items. First, the minimum road classification as it is listed on the official roadway classification map for Bedford County, and the minimum road width. An example has been discussed with the county road superintendent that is a minimum width of 18 feet. So a complete example might state that the roadway must have an official classification of collector or higher, and with a minimum width of 18 continuous feet of paved and striped surface. Further discussion could include proposing that subdivisions with a given number of lots, e.g. fewer than 10 or less, be exempted from the requirement or not. The main reason for this, what's bringing this about, is to give us yet one more tool in the toolbox to be able to deny a major subdivision in a place where the roadway is just too narrow. Currently, there are no minimum standards for subdivision approval, and so it's not a criteria that you could take into account. That you could theoretically mention it and use it, but you just wouldn't have any way to back it up if somebody ever filed suit and said, hey, we denied them of this right, and you didn't cite any reason to do it. So this will give us a tool, and when talking with Mark Clanton, he sort of just landed on that 18 feet without really a lot of conversation. This wasn't a formalized meeting or anything like that. We were just having kind of an offline conversation about it. And, you know, we have a lot of roads in the county that are 14 feet 16 feet. We've got a lot of really narrow roads, and what we want to make sure is that if we've got 60 cars coming out in a half hour during rush hour in the morning, all on one 14-foot road, that school buses and, that we were looking out for the basically for life safety, public safety sort of matters when we're thinking about these kind of things. So that's why we're looking at it. That's the sort of the genesis of it. Happy for any discussion about it. If you want to discuss something, to give me some ideas, if you have any, about how to go from here. My plan from here would be to just move towards creating something in writing and bring it to the next meeting, so you guys have something actually to look at and read.
Do we need to talk about? Do we need to talk about this last paragraph before you write something about whether, 10 or less would be exempt from the requirement?
Yeah, it's all open game, all fair game.
Do we need to talk about that? How does everybody feel on that?
No, when I read this, I think there's two things. The width of the ingress egress road coming out of the development, the 10 or less lots, are they contiguous, or are they part of a single street that's gonna go into a farm, or all those cars, ingress egress off of one street? And then, the width of that road coming in, because if we have a 14-foot road, the entrance needs to be wider for emergency vehicles to be able to make the turn.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually, well, you're talking about so many lots or less, like you said, because if somebody has a lot that joins the county road, you can't stop them from going to the county.
Yeah, I'm more concerned with somebody that has a 200-foot entrance and they go in and put 10 lots on one street. And so
yeah.
all those 20 to 30 cars are coming out on one street, and we give them a narrow ingress and egress.
3 or more lots, 5 or more lots, what do we need to set that at?
I think that needs to be discussed. What are we willing? I think the width of the major road needs to be a major topic in that decision. So if we have a 14-foot wide road, I think we should require a bigger entrance. If we have an 18-foot road, it could be less. But I don't want to just have a rule of thumb. Every county road, no matter the size, can do 10 lots.
But you put 10 houses on some of these rural roads, 14 foot, 18 foot. You're probably doubling the number of cars that are gonna go up and down those roads. And, I'd rather see it be one.
So Chris, I guess we're asking you to come back after you talk with Mark on what's the minimum road width of the county road, and what are we gonna require for ingress, egress if it's more than one lot on that county road? If it goes deep with 5 houses on each side, or if it's 10 in a row coming off the county road?
Okay, so currently the definition of a major subdivision is anything over 5 lots. So if you want to have this apply to simple subdivisions as well, which could be difficult to do, then you probably need to change your definition of what a simple subdivision is first.
I didn't think that, I thought the simple subdivisions pretty much had to have road frontage. It was not, a simple subdivision was not putting in a new road because the county there's a whole process of putting in a new road. Simple subdivisions are on existing county roads by definition. And so if we stay at 5 lots, then the 6th lot, they're gonna be on it's gonna be, they could have 6 lots in a row on a county road. That could happen. That's a lot of road frontage.
Then you end up like the massive curls going out there. You seen that? Where they going up there behind the little house? You seen those driveways? 10 of them in a row. It's just, it's just lined up. 10 separate driveways. All, 10 feet apart, 12 feet apart. All coming onto the pavement right there.
I
Well-
think even if they're coming off a county road, even if it's just a driveway, we need to require a width. Cause I see so many people, especially if they come out with a trailer, they short turn the driveway, it goes down in the ditch, So then they pull all the way over in the other lane trying to keep it straight. I think we need to have a standard width that we require minimum if you come onto a county road.
All right, so the other thing is, Mr. Farmer brought up a good point about simple subdivisions and how we make the determination of what the difference between a simple subdivision and a major. But one of the other things that you can do is you could have 6 lots or 10 lots or 15 lots, and if they all front the highway and they're all in that same sort of scenario that you proposed, then it still can have a major impact on the road.
100%.
And so the other thing is, in the very next item that I'll bring up, you'll see that there's another situation that I think we need to have a conversation about, and I need to get some direction from you guys on that as well. But that's the point is, if a person wants to build a 5-lot subdivision right now, that's a simple subdivision. They're all going to have road frontage on the main road, just like Mr. Farmer says. But there can be more than, I mean, they could come in right behind that and do another 5, and then come in behind that and do another 5. So that's why I've got this next item in there. But I think I understand what you guys want me to do with this, what we have so far.
Mr. Chairman, doesn't Mark, doesn't he have some engineering to lay out how many feet we may need for a driveway? I think he did some on the last, at our last meeting, he kind of told us how much they need.
He did, but he had more control then because he was putting in the culverts.
The culverts.
And now that's gone away, so we need to make sure.
But maybe he could recommend, that's what I was getting at, yeah. He could recommend some engineering, what we may need in the width.
And fire ambulance turning into a driveway too. What's their curvature?
Okay, we'll go to number 3, maximum number of lots. Simple subdivisions from a single donor tract time period. We discussed this at our last meeting, that we had people try to circumvent the system by coming in with a lot and then 6 months later coming in with another lot. So Chris proposed a 24-month period between being able to request that lot to be buildable.
Yeah, so, I mean, I can read you this. It just says, one item that surfaces often is when the developer or landowner intentionally circumvents a visit to the full planning commission, you guys, seeking an administrative approval, which is me, and the simplicity of avoiding you guys, or at least believed simplicity, by structuring land divisions from a single donor tract of land incrementally. By doing so, it doesn't allow the planning commission to have a full or accurate picture of what the development will be or what impacts it might have on adjoining landowners, streams, etc., when viewed collectively. So to discourage this common strategy and ensure the planning commission has the ability to do what it is charged to do in state law, I suggest that we limit any single donor tract to one simple subdivision every 24 months. And that could be up to 5 lots, keep in mind, every 24 months, because what they're doing, or what a lot of people want to do, is they may come in and they may bring a 3-lot subdivision or even a 5-lot subdivision, and they just have it administratively approved, and then they'll come in, as soon as they get that done, they'll come in with another one and another one on the same donor tract of land. So they knew all along they were going to do it that way. They just didn't inform us of it. And we don't have a rule that would allow me to deny that. And what we really need to do is we need to see the totality of the plan so that we can do our job and make sure that we're planning for the drainage and any of the adverse impacts that's going to occur when you have that many houses and you're taking up that much land and you're eliminating all these places where it would normally absorb rainwater, and now it's shedding rainwater, designed to shed rainwater. And so how that's going to impact a stream, how that's going to impact a neighbor's property or whatnot is important, because in simple subdivisions, we don't require all that engineering. So if we restrict it to every 24 months, I think it would encourage a person who has a mind to do that to just simply bring in the development that they want to have, let you guys look at it. At the end of the day, you're looking at the same things I'm looking at. So, you know, it's just that that's the process, that engineering process that they're trying to avoid, because that's the expensive part of it. So, anyway, I'm looking at that, and maybe if you guys put some of your own thoughts into it, but it could be that you take it a step further than what I've proposed.
Mr. Chairman,
Recognize Reed Farmer.
I mean, wouldn't we just restrict one simple subdivision per donor lot? And if they want to do more than that, then they need to go to a regular subdivision. Because waiting 24 months, I mean, you go down Midland Road past Edie, and it's house after house after, I mean, there's, you know, so if you follow Chris's scenario, then we would add 5 driveways this year, and 2 years later, we're gonna add 5 more driveways, and then 2 years later, we're gonna add 5, but we're gonna end up with a whole string of driveways with no consideration to what its effect in traffic, with no place, you know, I mean, and we've already seen that lots of driveways tying into a collector road is not a good scenario.
Yeah, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to incentivize the developers who want to do that into actually following some engineering standards, some best practices, so that we can, if they plan to develop it anyway, we can't really just say just outlaw people using their land, you know. So normally, if a person comes in, let's just say, let's break it down to one single lot. So that scenario you suggested could happen still very simply with people just doing one lot at a time. And I don't think you want to restrict people just dividing one lot. So I'm just suggesting that if a person had to wait for 2 years before they would just come in with a 25 lot subdivision and be done with it, I think.
What is the magic of 24 months versus 36 or 48?
There's no magic. It's just, that's what you're here for, is I just throw some stuff and spitballs on the wall, and you guys try to turn it into something better.
Let me ask you this question. I agree with what Reed says. I understand where you're coming from. So if a person comes to you and they have 1,000 feet of road frontage, can we tie it to that, where if they say we're only going to do 1 lot or 2 lots now, we know they got 1,000 foot, they're probably going to have driveways all the way down. If a guy's only got 200 feet of road frontage, I know he's only going to do 2 lots. So could we tie it, when you're doing your simples that you can approve yourself, can we tie it to what the amount of road frontage that they can continue doing this?
Well, you guys, you know, you can amend a lot of, I mean, we might want to do is just take a deep dive and look at every single item in the subregs that touches this issue. And that way you can see how each one is drafted and what it says, and how one might counteract what you would do in another, so that we can look at it collectively. But I do have a plan that, you know, we're going to try to work on this year, which is not on the agenda, but it's sitting right here. But it's a corridor and access management plan. So this is something that I've been working on with the city of Shelbyville for a long time, and they passed it, and I'm going to be bringing it to you guys this year to see if we can pass it, and then we can maybe have an interlocal agreement between the two government entities where we're essentially doing the same thing. Because the way we benefit from that, aside from having limited access points along all of our roads, whatever they're classified, the rules are different for the classification of the road and for how far it is from the city center or from the county center. So the further you get away, the rules become a little more restrictive. And so what we're trying to do is maintain the functionality of the roads the road systems that we have. And, you know, right now, you know, I guess when I moved here, I could drive to Murfreesboro almost in 20, 25 minutes, and now it's probably 35 minutes. And if we don't do something about access management, we're gonna, as we get more and more access points to the highways, we're gonna have more and more accidents, we're gonna have more and more traffic deaths, and it's gonna slow the functionality of the highway system to the point where it's gonna take you 45 minutes to get to Murfreesboro. You have all these people pulling off and pulling on the highway with all this plethora of driveways and other access points, and over time it just becomes unmanageable. So what you do is these standards that are in here that I want to recommend is that we look at how people would have to, in the future, would have to, if they're going to have so many driveways within so many feet of another driveway, they might have to build a parallel side street, and then all those driveways access the parallel street, and then you have one access point on the highway. Because every time you have access point is an opportunity for a traffic accident.
What's to keep me as a developer to have a road, and do 5, and then transfer ownership of the remaining amount of the road, right after I get the others to somebody else?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because that gives us an opportunity to think that through, that scenario through. But I'm
That'd be a way to get
I'm
around
tying it to a donor track, not necessarily ownership right now, but we could be a whole lot more specific about it, you know, if we're concerned about that. Again, these are, like I said, I think that most people, if they really want to have 15 lots, they really want to do it now. They don't want to wait 2 years. So I think it just incentivizes them to just do it right in the first place. And we get the opportunity to look at it holistically, to look at it from the environmental point of view, to the engineering, to see what the stormwater's doing, and the whole 9 yards. And so, you know, for in the county, out in the county, it's not like the city. We don't have storm sewers and things like that. We just have drainage systems like ditches and whatnot. And so it's a little different. It's not as complex in that regard. But we still need to figure out like how much water needs to be detained and the size of the detention ponds and how that water is going to make it to a stream or some other source without going to somebody's yard.
Linda?
Chris, there's 2 things though here. One is the rural roads in our county, and then the collector streets or higher. And so is there a mechanism to just do the 1 lot subdivision on the less than whatever that footage is, 14 feet, 18 feet, and then the 5 or more minor subdivisions where there's a collector street?
Yeah, I think that you guys can, you know, direct me to do it however you want to do it, and then at some point in time we'll need to bring in Ginger and make sure that we're not crossing some legal lines that we don't need to be crossing. But the thing is, the reality of it is, I don't think that you guys want to pass a set of rules that says if a guy owns 500 acres and he's got 1,000 foot of road frontage, he can only have 1 lot. You know, I don't think that's legally defendable. Yeah, I don't think it's defendable.
So Chris, how many times does this happen, that people come in and
I
have?
was just going to ask him that. Is this common?
I've got one right now.
It's often.
So maybe
pretty
we need to
often.
restrict it to 3 lots for simple subdivision instead of 5.
Yeah,
And we can do that too.
yeah, if this is common, then we need to nip this in the bud.
We're not telling them what to do with their land, but we're
Right.
making sure that we are paying attention for drainage,
Yes.
roads, impact on everything else. So I would like for us to look at changing that to 3 lots instead of 5 lots.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can do that. This is a really good time to throw this out there, just because I got a couple county commissioners in the audience, and I got one up here, and some people in the audience that I'm sure are probably interested in this, because, and I think I touched on this maybe in the last meeting, and that is there's a lot of community dialogue going on about the unsustainable growth in Bedford County, and I will say what I didn't have the numbers in front of me the last meeting, but I do tonight. So when we sit around and we hear that, we're scratching our heads in the planning department, because we, you know, of course, we get these single lot developments, these simple subdivisions that we really have no we don't have a lot of jurisdiction over. There, if people want to do it, they can do it. They just have to meet the minimum standards. But in terms of organized, platted subdivisions in the way that we think of a subdivision, and most people don't realize that a subdivision is actually just a division of land less than 5 acres. That's the state definition. But when we think about a subdivision, most of us think about these platted neighborhoods that are full of houses and whatnot. But in the last 5 years, from 2021 to 2026, we've had 5 in Bedford County, 5. We had a 22-lot subdivision, a 40-lot subdivision, a 75-lot subdivision, which is the biggest one. That's the on Longview, a 38-lot subdivision, and a 12-lot subdivision. That's 187 lots. At the same time, the city of Shelbyville's approved more than 2,300 lots. So the growth problem is not in the rural area. We're less than 1%. That's not the county. This entity, you guys are not, guilty of that. But certainly there's a lot of lots being created in the county, and we don't have any jurisdiction over the city, and we don't get to tell them what to do, and that's their thing. That's their job. But in Bedford County, in the unincorporated areas of Bedford County, we do not have that sort of problem. I just thought I'd make that statement.
Okay. Discussion item, large-scale data centers.
Okay, this came to me last month. Commissioner Yockey and Kurt Cobb, he's a candidate for mayor. They came to talk to me about large-scale data centers and the idea of a one-year moratorium to give us an opportunity to study these things and to really kind of understand them. It was brought up so that we could, if need be, develop a set of standards and a lot of set of rules and that kind of stuff, like we did with solar. We ended up with a solar farm before because we didn't have any rules, and then once we created the standards, we haven't got any more. So, not that it's illegal, it's not. It's available to them. It's just a little bit more complicated than it would have been before. And so that's kind of, I know one of the persons in the audience, Ms. Vanderkin, spoke up, and she was a very good speaker. But she was talking about the high cost of electricity in those areas and really what she's trying to say, I think, is that when they put in these large-scale data centers, they have to build a lot of infrastructure in order to be able to supply them with the amount of electricity that they have to have. And if you're an electric cooperative or any kind of cooperative, you sort of spread those costs over all of your ratepayers. And what that amounts to is higher utility bills, in this case electric bills for other people. And I know that I read one instance where a community decided that that wasn't going to happen. They were going to let the data center bear that responsibility for the extra cost, but for the most part, that's not what's happened. So there's a lot of, but that's just one issue. There's a lot of issues. I honestly believe that if we were going to have a data center in Bedford County, it would not be it wouldn't be in an unincorporated area. I don't think we could serve it with enough water. And so I don't think that Shelbyville Power can serve it with enough water. So, but I do know that the heads of these utilities, Jason Reese with Shelbyville Power, and in particular, because he's actually been vocal about it, he would like to be a part of the conversation if we were to move down this road. I'm sure Duck River Electric general manager would like to, or CEO, whatever the title is, would like to be a part of this conversation, and the new general manager of Bedford County Utility District would love to be a part of this conversation, because those are experts in the field of utilities, and they can tell us what they can serve and what they can't serve. I have a general idea about Shelbyville Power because I serve with Jason on another board, and we've had these conversations many times. So,
Do you think these data centers is gonna we gotta have it, but nobody wants to.
I don't think it's exactly like that, because every community doesn't need one. So yeah.
Don't you agree that we don't need to be left behind with technology? We need them somewhere.
What?
But everything is still more because
So yeah, so it's not it's not one of those things that every community is ever going to have. It's one of those things that they're sporadic, and they really are going in places that I think have the low-hanging fruit in terms of rules and regulations, and it's the easiest place to put them. But they're also going in places that have access to a lot of water and a lot of electricity. And so I guess the TVA region is attractive to them because of TVA, obviously. But not every community has the infrastructure to be able to support it. And I know for a fact that we don't have the water to support. Let's just say if we just use the one in Memphis that they're talking about right now, we don't have that much water available for them. So that one it can use up to 5 million gallons a day, and we probably have an excess 2 million gallons a day, and that's if we don't develop anything else. And so
It's getting access to the water is what my concern is, which is the same amount of water in that town as it was at the beginning of it. It's in 3 falls, solid.
that's the difference. That's the difference in a data center. If you go out to Tyson's or any other plant, any other manufacturing plant, they have to put a certain amount of water back into the river that they take out.
Million gallons a day.
So, well, they have to put back 80% of what they use, and so it could be any amount. It's 80% of what they use. In a data center, they use an evaporative cooling process for the chips, so it evaporates, so they can't reuse it. That's not, but that's not how it works, because where we get our water is a limited amount of there's a certain watershed that gives water into the Normandy, and yeah, but we have access to only the water that is part of the watershed that goes into the Normandy Reservoir, and we can't get more water than that. It's not all the water around us. It's just the water that's in that watershed, and that's where we get access to our drinking water. So that's the bulk of it. So it's a finite resource for us.
And we can use all of that water. Columbia and Lewisburg and all these others depend on that water.
That is true. So all the people downstream have a straw in that river, just like we do, and they're sucking out of that. But that's about all I have on it as far. I just wanted to open the conversation, but if Linda or Kurt want to get up and talk, I think this is the issue that they really wanted to bring up, but up to the chairman if you'll.
Kurt, let me make a comment. I've talked to Knoxville, Memphis, Nashville, and he was spot on in what he said. The problem is they do make promises. Memphis has found out that the water that they're using is actually coming out of their aquifers, not out of the Mississippi River. TVA is doing the same thing, but they are actually reusing the water. We do not have the infrastructure in Bedford County. They say they're going to contribute to the utility improvements, but over time. And another problem that Memphis has run into is who monitors what they're doing after it's approved. So what I asked Chris to do was we form a committee with utility directors. I think you would be great if you would be involved in that conversation because you have the knowledge. We need somebody from the public other than just people that we have in our utility districts. But it's a long-term concern, the sustainability of the growth of these. Now, I know Elon Musk is super smart, and he's probably going to figure out a way to recycle what he's doing, but that has not been done, and the usage of gray water has not happened. So I don't agree with doing a moratorium, because I think we'll end up in a lawsuit. You know, if it's a long-term moratorium, I think we need to come up with an idea that it's going to take to figure this process out. Maybe we do 6 months, 9 months, but I know there's already been some lawsuits filed on some of the municipalities that have agreed to do it. Now they're politically backing out of them, trying to do moratoriums after the fact. But I think we owe it to the public that we are knowledgeable about what's going on with data centers, because they are not going to go away.
I would like to ask that Chris reach out to the Southern Environmental Law Center, which he's served on the Duck River thing with, and see what their input is about data centers. I think they're studying this particular item.
I'm sorry,
Okay,
Mr. Cobb. Go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Y'all pretty much said just about everything. About a month ago,
I had kind of brought this out and brought this to attention to several people in the City Planning Commission. They have had some discussion on it. I just would like to add that I think it's, they have, from what I found out at that meeting, that their city planner, that they had two different data centers look at the city of Shelbyville. So they've been here and they've looked at Shelbyville. For whatever reason, it didn't happen. But I would love to see the city and the county work together on this issue, hopefully on some other issues and later on in the future, especially regional transportation planning, which is a must. I think that's something we really, really need to work on to plan for infrastructure. But back to this, I think it's important that the city and the county work with this, put the committee together, put the experts on there, and move forward to be able to protect the citizens of Shelbyville and Bedford County. I do think that a moratorium is needed for a while. I think a year or 18 months or something in that nature, time enough to study to get the regulations. And if you could take it and park it into a zoning, take that and define it and park it into a zoning that where they can't build one right now, I think that might be a good temporary solution to be able to do this. But I understand what y'all do. I first started in government. I was on the first thing I ever sat on, I was on the Shelbyville Historic Zoning Commission. So I learned a lot. About rules and things like that. So I appreciate what y'all do. I know that y'all are trying to weigh the public safety, the public health, and the welfare of the citizens, and also put guardrails in place, to protect people, but also protect people's property rights. And I appreciate that. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb. Linda?
My concept of this was to, just like we did with the step systems, that Mr. Chairman and the new mayor, or this mayor, whichever mayor, appoint that committee relative to the county commission. It'd be the same thing. We give them a year to put a moratorium on it so that in a year we can look at the situation and get our regs in order. And like we did the step system wastewater, exactly like it, and that worked out very well. I was hoping Ginger would be here, but Chris, if there's any hang up about a time thing or a moratorium, then she needs to be brought in. But I'd like to see it done just like we did the step system wastewater committee, and a time, and then they have to give a report back to you. And
I did have a conversation with Ginger about it about 3 weeks ago, and I'm glad I did, because I had contemplated making an appearance for the City Planning Commission. When I say city, I'm talking about Shelbyville's Planning Commission. But I had thought about making an appearance before their Planning Commission and having a conversation with them about a moratorium on a totally different issue, and which is the preservation of bypass. That's a whole other thing that I'll bring up maybe next month. But when I told her that, she told me, she said, she told me right off the bat she didn't think that we were allowed to do moratoriums anymore. And so she looked it up while I was right there with her, and she was surprised, and she said, no, we can. So she said 18 months is about the most you can have. And so she understands that, but she said if I'd would have attended one of those meetings, she would have just told me from the floor that we couldn't do it. And so I was glad we had that offline conversation and about that, because I do think, based on my conversation with her, that it's something that is achievable. We can do it. Don't mean somebody won't sue us to try to intimidate us to stop it, but I do think it's legally accessible. Yeah, I read where these generators that they use are the size of a train car, and they put out this low frequency hum that has a psychological effect
people
on a
sick.
lot of people. It just drives them nuts. And so one of the big that's one of the biggest complaints actually is people feel like they can't sleep at night, and they have no quality of life if they're close to one. And so there's a lot of things, but like you said though, Wayne, that there is other emerging technologies that the moratorium would allow us to study so that we could have a fair and balanced conversation about what is real in a data center today versus what was real to the data center that was built 2-3 years ago. I do think it is a conversation we need to have, but every piece of information that we learn through this process will help us write a better set of regulations, I think, and so I see no reason not to pursue it.
Mr. Chairman, would it be proper for us to do a moratorium or the county commission to do moratorium?
Well, the county commission is the only one that can do that. It's the
We,
legislative
we
body.
would this body
You can
recommends.
make a recommendation, and then we can send it up to the commission.
One other thing, Chris, not just tying it to strictly data centers, but to include also anything else that I don't know about that would impact our natural resources that we've got here. So that's the only thing to add, not just data centers, but anything else.
So one of the requirements of a moratorium is you have to show harm or neglect, so we can't just include everything. We need to be specific on what we're gonna do the moratorium for, what we're sending before the commission, so they don't get in trouble and they're voting specifically on what we're requesting.
Good point. Yep.
Mr. Chairman, can I make this motion?
Yes, sir.
I would like to make the motion that we recommend to the county commission a one-year moratorium put in place to give us time to study the effects of these.
On the data centers. I think we all heard you,
We
Keenan.
heard you.
So we have a motion by
Second.
Keenan to do a one-year moratorium on any data center projects brought before the county. I need a second.
I think we need to backpedal just
need
a
to
little
have-
bit because that wasn't on the agenda to actually vote on it tonight. It was only for discussion. So I think you guys would have to suspend the rules and amend the agenda before you vote on something.
Make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second. Jay Graham, second. Keenan, you get to speak up now. Yep. So I need all in favor? All in favor to suspend the rules? Any opposed? Okay, Keenan, now you can make your motion. Push your mic.
Go ahead, I got you.
I move that we, send a recommendation from the planning commission to the county commission we urge them to pass a one-year moratorium to learn more about the data centers and their effects,
So do I have a second on Keenan's motion?
I second it.
I think we need to do a vote.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Sorry. Jay Graham,
Yes.
Wayne Simons, Jeff Sweeney, pass on that one. Reed Farmer.
Okay, motion passed. We'll send it to the commission. Okay, old business. Vote to accept in-service training for planning commission member Keenan Threet.
Move to accept.
Second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Any opposed? Bedford County Comprehensive Growth Plan discussion.
Okay, last we met, you guys were supposed to review pages 1 through 32. That would get you through the introduction, and all the challenges and opportunities and population employment element, data sources, key terms, demographics, population characteristics, economic characteristics and population projections. Does anybody, keep in mind now, this is something that I helped write, so it's like I know what's in it, so I'm just asking you guys to read this, and if you have any recommended suggestions or amendments or anything like that in that pages 1 through
Okay.
32, that's what I'm asking you to do.
May I ask a question? Because, I mean, I did go through this with a fine tooth comb, and it's overwhelming, the number of little things, you know, that I saw. And so I don't know how what the best way to handle that would be, maybe just to give you my notes and you can look through it, versus us as a group discussing like major issues that we see in it.
Well, if it's a typo or something insignificant like that, I just want you to email me that, and
Okay,
I can just,
so-
because I'll be on my computer and I can make those adjustments there. If it's, I'm just asking you guys for the major, big ticket items.
Right, okay. So I can feel free then to just email you the
Yeah.
1,000,001 little changes?
As soon as you see one, just send me one. I
Okay.
don't care. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a typo too on it, Chris. I'll
All right.
just email it to you.
And so then I guess I would like to start with the bigger issues that I see, on page 5. I have a real problem with that page. I don't feel like whiskey is really a part of our county. I really don't. I would relabel that as music courses and festivals or something, and, I mean, you know, the Moon Pie Festival in Bell Buckle is not really mentioned. We've got a lot of festivals, but how is whiskey, it says in here that, promoting local distilleries, which there are none, okay, and rich history of whiskey production, which there are no distilleries. There's Nearest Green,
Well, there was when this was written.
but that's not really even a
So
distillery.
Lynn, would you be opposed to if we did music, entertainment, and tourism?
I think that would be much more accurate. And tourism.
Okay, my comments were on education. I think that's something we really need to look at. Of course, Diane served on the school board several years, so she probably has comments too, but, with the 2,300 lots that the city has approved that will probably be developed over the next 7 years, we're looking at close to 3,000 students that will impact our schools. We just spent $38 million building Cartwright Elementary that is about 600 plus students right now. Most of that development is on that corridor and 41. The kids on 41 will go to East Side and South Side. South Side is 76 years old. This is a big impact on our community.
That's a good number. Be careful.
I think that needs to be, and I had talked to Chris, whenever the election is over, that we try to get somebody, involved in school administration on a daily basis to help feed us numbers of the impact. The students, count is actually going down some, and I don't know the reason for that. I don't know if it's homeschool or private schools, but, I have a real concern of 2,500, 3,000 students enrolling in our school system that's already either old buildings or the capacity to take those kids in, and those lots are already approved. It's not going through the process. They are approved. They will happen. I think we need to spend some time on that. I don't think that just needs to be rushed through. I think we owe, even though we've only approved how many lots? 180 lots?
187 in 5 years.
187 lots in 5 years.
38 a year.
We owe it to all the people of Bedford County that we spent time studying that portion and the impact it has.
And not just education, but all the services the commission has to fund, ambulances.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I don't want you to get tripped up on this page. You know, you can look at the page and tell it looks different. It's really just a high-level thing saying these are the things we're committed to as a county. I don't want you to think that this is part of our plan, that whiskey is part of our plan, because it's not. It's just, and I didn't come up with that. It was, I can't take credit for that, but I think other people think a lot more of our, or what once was our whiskey sort of heritage than most local folks do. But just because we're proximity to Jack Daniels and Dickel and those two older institutions, and then of course this one was attempted to try and sort of take on some of that ownership, some of that story as well. And so this was just like I said, it's you know, it's colored. The rest of them aren't colored. This was just a high level, like, these are the things that our community is committed to. Now let's move forward and we'll talk about the plan, because there's really nothing in the plan that really says, hey, we're going to promote more whiskey, you know.
I do have an addition on education, in light of our new alternative learning building. So I think that should be added, supporting a world-class education system and lifelong learning and alternative learning programs.
How did you say that again?
Lifelong learning and alternative learning programs. Alternative learning, yeah. This is not just the traditional educational systems.
Anything else on this page 5?
So I was just curious if you could define for me improving transportation safety for people of all ages and abilities. How would, what's on your mind there? What is that referring to?
Okay,
Yes.
well, you know, again, like I said, this page, everything on it is high-level commitments. And so improving transportation safety for all people of all ages and abilities, part of that obviously would be this corridor study,
Okay.
which this is the second corridor study that we undertook in the last couple of years. We actually studied Highway 231 North, just a small section of it at first, and then we came back a year or two later with another grant, and we studied it all the way to the county line, and we also studied 41A North all the way to the county line as well, and included that. So we're looking at a lot of different things. So in fact, in this plan itself, as we get into the meat and potatoes, there's also a transportation plan in this book. And there's a lot of recommendations. We've had traffic engineers look at, we've analyzed the traffic data, accident data at every intersection in Bedford County. There's an analysis that's been done on especially fatal accidents and serious accidents. And I'll just give you a for instance, that's in the book, is some low-hanging fruits, things that we can do that really cost no money, that could improve traffic safety. And some of those are, also, keep in mind, some of these things, the most dangerous accidents that are inside the city of Shelbyville, because Shelbyville's in the county, and we have people, they have districts in the county that are pretty much just in the city. So they're paying county taxes too. So we're looking at the most dangerous accidents also in the city of Shelbyville, the city of Wartrace, Bell Buckle, everything. And we found that there's a study out that says that you can add 2 seconds to a typical red light, at a signalized intersection, and you can improve safety at that intersection by 30%. Just because people expect the light to turn red, they turn yellow, and they expect it to turn red soon, so they put the gas on to try to get through, and a lot of times it's not quick enough. But when you just add a couple of seconds to that traffic light, they're not expecting it, and guess what? It doesn't turn red, and they get through it. So, so it's just little simple things like that. But we found there, for instance, on Shaw Road, there close to Jennings Lane, that you'll drive down there when you get a chance. there's a big tree on the side of the road, and it's really close to the edge of the road. We've had two very serious hospitalized type accidents at that intersection because people have veered off the road and hit that same tree. And yet we've not cut the tree down yet. So just cutting that, like that tree being cut down is in this plan. It's just stuff like
okay.
that. So there's a lot of transportation elements in this book as you move through it that will cover, I think, answer all those questions.
And that's probably the slowest moving of anything that happens, because I know the light on 231 and 82, we've been trying to get that for 15 years.
Yeah, I guess.
15 years, and we finally got it.
Yeah.
So, you know, state has to get involved. That drags everything out.
There's also some things in this plan. Under that same item, that transportation item, that second thing was preserving our scenic roads and corridors. It's in that same little box. So there are other things in this plan, transportation related, where I'm gonna be recommending, or this plan is gonna be recommending some designations for our scenic highways and scenic roads and that kind of stuff, where we will change the designation and then the allowances to develop that on that road will be far less accessible, so to speak. So those are the things that you'll find in the plan later on. Anything else that surprised anybody, or?
Are you gonna take out or leave in anything on the Uncle Nearest?
Yeah, that's on page 30. That was gonna be my next question.
Or you wanna leave it for a while, see what?
I guess one comment that I would have on that page 30 is, I would like to see an expansion of the arena. I didn't really see it in here, and I'm not really sure why. Unless I missed it. I mean, unless it's further down, I only got up to, I only went to my mark of where you told us to go.
Are you talking about the Calsonic?
Mm-hmm.
Is that, it may be over in tourism.
Okay,
It's there, I saw it somewhere.
okay. Yeah, I see it.
But now that you brought it up, it's actually, again, timing is everything, but it's, I agree, especially when you look at the bigger picture with what Cooper Steel's been doing to invest in the community and all the money they've spent on that arena. Yeah, I think I think you're right. And,
I mean,
you know,
that's our
there's a lot of
dual-
stuff in here about all the other elements. You know, it's interesting that when we started this process, it was pre-COVID. And we got a little bit of stuff done. I mean, we got, I don't know, probably, let's just say 100 pages. And then, you know, then nothing for like 2 years. And then, you know, then it's been a slow process.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever we hired the last firm to come in and the last group, it's the same firm, it's just with a different group down in Florida. That's because we lost all of the people in that company in the national office. So They just weren't there, so I didn't have anybody local to deal with, so I was having group meetings on, you know, over the internet, for the last couple of years. But one of the things I did is I'm like, look, guys, you have really let us down, and all of this demographics data, everything that was in the first 100 pages that you guys have done work, it's worthless to us now. I was almost glad that we had the recession and things went, not the recession, but I'm not glad we have COVID, but I'm just saying I was almost glad that I got the group that I got, because they were willing to step up and modernize all the data and change out all the demographic data. Everything's new in that regard. And so, but the problem is there's always going to be things that are going to move past us, or we're going to move past them, and it's no longer going to be relevant. But it does tell a story. It does tell an important story. And something I think will happen with that distillery grounds. We call it distilleries. I know it's not a distillery, but that's what we call it. But something will happen, and I don't know if it'll be another. I don't know if it'll be another spirits company or if it'll be something else totally different. But something will happen with it, and I think it's an important piece of property in Bedford County that has a huge amount of investment in its infrastructure. So somebody will find value in it, I'm sure. But I don't want to just like every time something passes by to have to go through and say, okay, we just need to wipe that person's memory out of our book. I don't think that that's the direction we need to go into, because it's still relevant in some ways. I do think, though, that we could minimize some of the impact of that, and then emphasize some of the things that you guys think are more important. And and again, that's why we're having this conversation. So. But I do think the Cooper Steel Arena and the Horse Show Grounds, I think, need to be a significant part of the plan for sure.
Reed?
Yeah, it's Cooper Steel the arena has definitely stepped up on the number of event, you know, as far as tourism and bringing in people. I mean, they're having all kinds of stuff over there, some of it horse related, some of it not. But they have made a major effort, and I think we need to recognize their effort.
While we're talking about Cooper Steel, which we don't normally talk about education and the Planning Commission, if you haven't been over to Central High School and seen what they've done on their sportsplex, it is equivalent to a major college sports complex. And Gary and his company have fitted the bill on that 100%. He's not one that boasts about what he does, so I'm going to do it for him. But it's amazing. I mean, you go to a game and see the parents walk up from other schools, and they're just blown away. I mean, big schools. So it's if you haven't been by there while school's out, it would be something to see if you drove over there. Do we have any other comments?
With 4 more major topics, Chris, do you think we could do 2 each time? And I mean, the next one's tourism, and so that we're down to just 2 more meetings to get it done.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was looking at. Although this was way smoother than I imagined it would be. But
you got Lynn's list.
So yeah, that's good. I like those down lists. So that gives me something.
But I mean, they may be so complicated, like tourism, and then it goes to education. So I mean, but can we shoot for that? And then if we have to,
yeah, because yes, I think because the traffic element, transportation element is going to be something that you probably want to dig into. So pages 34 to 62 for the next meeting.
and at what point do we? like on education, involve new superintendent and school board, or requests that they come to, or, food for thought.
Well, you know, there's gonna be a big public engagement sessions after this, after we get done with, the planning commission, so, we could either bring them in, invite them here to the planning commission, or I could invite them to the other, or both.
I would like to have, Mr. Harwell and Chairman Cook invited.
Okay. And that's something that's easily we can update, you know, is the changing of the guard for, yeah.
And then one other just input onto it, you know, the chamber's now reorganized and they have the 5 arms of, I believe it's 5 and I can't name them all, but I know one of them is tourism, and ask them to come also at the sections that the chamber touches also, at least have them in the audience as part.
Okay, we can do that.
I understand we've got 2 more sessions, try to finish.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't we go all the way up to close to 196 or something?
Well, I was looking at the amount of time we probably spent on those next 2, and then maybe we can get up to, some of the other ones are kind of repetitious.
Okay. I just want to make sure we get all the way.
Okay, any other comments? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Oh, one more thing I'd just like to bring up, it's not on the agenda, but, you guys asked me about the wastewater committee. I finished my, report analysis today.
Oh,
So, it'll definitely be, well, I think it'll be on next month's agenda. It's gonna have to go before Alan's committee first. They're gonna look at it first.
the 9th of July. I'm gone.
Alan, I think it'd be good for either you or someone from your committee, be at the commission meeting just to. Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you, all the elected people coming, appreciate it.